Thanks for stopping by, gentlemen. Just wanted to say I'm happy with our progress working together so far.
Couldn't agree more, Toto. Let's keep this up for as long as we can.
I just want all drivers to continue to work together. Pay attention to Ferrari this weekend. They might be fast.
Yes, sir.
Sounds like a plan, guys. Have fun this weekend.
All right, guys, go get ready. I'll see you in the paddock.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of F123 Driver Career Mode. I hope you're all having a great day. You heard the meeting right there, and things so far between this relationship with Aston Martin as well as the Mercedes team going nice and smooth, and we hope that it continues like that. As you see the beautiful view here of this Austrian GP area now, surrounding area, as you can see, heading into free practice one. We have a sprint weekend, the second time this season. Red Bull has shown up for their home Grand Prix with a special livery, the camo livery. I think this is based off 2018, if I remember correctly. The mod link will be down below in the description. The wheel covers, not a fan of those. They don't do it for me here, but overall the livery looks pretty good. But nonetheless, excited for this weekend. Love this circuit here. Such a fun track, very quick track, very technical. You just got to hit your marks and nail those apexes, as I think I just described every circuit in Formula 1. But here we are in this practice program of the race strategy. Actually went red in the first lap, but we would pick it up here and the other three and go green just barely on that last one. You only need 3 green laps to really get what you need. We would end up free practice 1 in P12, but when we went into qualifying, yeah, it's raining pretty hard, so this is going to be an interesting Saturday for sure. Now, it looks like it's chucking it down, but it's not going to be wet tires. It's actually still good enough to be on the intermediates, and you guys know this is my bread and butter. The wet weather is where we have excelled so well here this season, really our whole F1 career. So my first lap, Alonso was the top of the board. He actually stays in the pits. This is right at the end of the session. I go top of the board myself. Alonso stays in while the track was improving, and everybody else was on track. So just like that, to kick off Saturday, we might have a huge dramatic moment as both myself and Alonso falling down the order. Alonso would be down to P18, still in the pit lane. We're going to come through to cross the stripe with another 0.7 of a second gain to cruise through into Q2. But Fernando Alonso, the championship leader in his final season, will start the sprint from P18 after a huge error there in calculations on track improvement now. My first lap in the second session, top of the board, but then it would drop down as the conditions kept improving, but we would end up P6. So cruising through again into Q3. Alex Albon, a surprise exit actually, as he's been so consistent and so impressive this season. Down in P15 though. My first lap in Q3, P2 behind Lewis Hamilton. You can see that the weather has continued to improve. It's not really raining that much, but my final lap of the session, continuous improvement in the track, and you can see that in the times being replicated. We were down to P7, drivers just getting faster and faster as the time goes on. Right now it was looking like a Mercedes front row lockout. We were down to P7, so we're going to start P7 at worst. Let's see if we can improve through the final turn, down the front straightaway for the sprint. Where is it going to be? We make an improvement, but it's not enough to gain anything. So P7 is in fact where we start, which is quite disappointing considering how good we've been in the wet conditions this season. We hovered around P6 as well all session long, so a bit disappointing there. We're going to jump straight through though into the formation lap here for the sprint race in Austria.
Here we go then, the formation lap is underway ahead of today's sprint. As all the cars take their positions on the grid, the final preparations have been made, and all that's left is for the drivers to deliver on track.
Well, it's a beautiful sunny Saturday for racing. A lot better than yesterday, boys. Let's have fun today.
I like where your head is at, mate. Get it done.
Ready to roll here now. So yeah, not the qualifying, effort that we were hoping for, but fortunately it's not a huge deal because of the fact that we have a sprint to kind of make up for it, because I honestly feel like we do have more race pace than what we showed there in qualifying in terms of, you know, position and whatnot. So nonetheless, the last car is up to the grid. Fernando Alonso starting from the back. What can he do here to set himself up for the Grand Prix? It's going to be lights out. We are racing here. George Russell and then the two Ferraris behind him. Hamilton with a terrible start as Max Verstappen tries to go around the outside of one of the Ferraris there into turn one. Hamilton tucks in behind myself, 3 wide in the background. Perez as well on Lando Norris there, but they get that sorted out. And here I am putting the attack now, as here comes Lewis Hamilton, though, already back up my inside as we head down towards turn 3. I let him have the position, say have at it, Lewis. There you see on the inside of Carlos Sainz, Verstappen, and the special one-off livery for the home Grand Prix for this Red Bull Racing team. Now they continue drag racing down towards turn number 4, as you can see, out to an early lead though. George Russell with Leclerc chasing. Ferrari have continued to make improvements now in season number 2. They started out a bit slow, but they very slowly kind of crept back into the mix, but still I don't think they're going to have enough here today, and I think you're going to see that take place over the long run in this Grand Prix. Beginning of lap 2 into turn 1, Verstappen a lockup, so he goes down to P6, maybe down to P7, as Gasly is going to be right there on him, but no, Verstappen would be able to hold on to P6 here now. So lap 3, settling into P5, trying to close in on the back of Lewis Hamilton is Zhou Guanyu actually with a mechanical failure as we jump straight through already to lap 6 and still running in this 5th position. But we would come in on this little battle here. Sainz with a bit of an awkward corner would check up Hamilton right to my front nose. So now here we go to the left side. We are free to fight right now as we continue on side by side, wheel to wheel. We're going to try and go around the outside of turn 4 on the 7-time world champion, and we'll complete the overtake. So up into P4 over Lewis we go. Next up, Carlos Sainz, DRS enabled for myself, and no DRS right now for Sainz. So to the left side of the Spaniard we go, and down into the braking zone. We're going to be able to complete the pass here, hopefully around the outside again. Yes, we will, as Carlos, though, hold on, Sainz, he's going to fight back here as we head through the brief right-hander, now towards the double left-hander. We're coming up on Leclerc, by the way, to the lead over Russell, as I put Sainz in a bit of an awkward position. That puts him wide. Hamilton goes through as well, so Leclerc would take the lead, but Russell would fight back, in Hamilton up my inside again into turn 3 with the DRS assistance was able to easily overtake me, and George Russell back to the lead over Charles Leclerc as the engine fails as we come through to the start of lap 10 here in the sprint race for the first time this season. A mechanical failure with this Aston Martin Racing team. Day completely over and ruined. We'll start from the back in the Grand Prix.
Sorry, mate, that sucks.
Yeah, it is what it is. You hear Mark there, and myself, as he was kind of just letting us know, yeah, that sucks. Alonso ended up P7. I don't know how in the world he managed to do that after starting at the back. We start from P19 on the grid for Sunday. Let's go racing.
Welcome from the beautiful Styrian Mountains for another chapter in the story of the Austrian Grand Prix. It's one of the shortest laps on the calendar today then, with 7 rights and just 3 lefts, making up the 10 corners of this high-speed circuit. Turn 2 is barely a corner at all. They'll be flat out through there, a left-hand kink into the uphill braking zone of turn 3. Turns 1, 3 and 4 are all potential opportunities to overtake. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. George Russell will begin today's event in pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Sainz, Verstappen, Norris, Fernando Alonso, Gasly, Perez, Magnussen, Albon, Ocon, Oscar Piastri, Bottas, Tsunoda, Sargent, Stroll, De Vries, Golden Boy, and Zhou Guanyu. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Anthony Davidson is here once again for today's Grand Prix. Let's begin by talking about Zhou Guanyu. They're in for a tough race today, as they'll be starting out of position due to a penalty from earlier in the weekend.
It's unfortunate, but it happens to everyone at some point. You just have to accept your fate, knuckle down and get on with the business of making up that deficit during the Grand Prix. So they'll be pushing hard today. One to watch for sure.
It was looking like a prime opportunity to catch Fernando Alonso in points. Instead, we've lost points to him. And now we start from the back and try to find a miracle to make up more points after, a heartbreaking Canadian Grand Prix ending as well. We're going to do mediums to hards. Let's get racing.
The formation lap gets underway and every driver will be looking to settle in for the race ahead, making sure that their car is ready for the battle once the lights go out. So as all the cars reform the grids, the drivers will be hoping to get a strong start. They'll want to earn some valuable points from today's race, with final communications being done with their race engineers, ensuring the planned strategies are all in place.
Okay, yesterday sucked, but let's focus on today and move forward.
Yes, sir. I agree. Just focus on the present. Let's get it done. Well, we are ready to go racing then, here in the Austrian Grand Prix. Myself and the Sauber of Zhou Guanyu starting at the back of the grid. We've got the Alfa Romeo Haas cars up here in the mix as well, or back here in the mix, I should say, specifically the rookie of Nick De Vries. It's his teammate Magnussen further up the road. We're ready to go racing here in Austria. It's lights out, we're underway. It's another bad start for Lewis Hamilton. Russell already gone on those softs, and there's Leclerc and Sainz immediately side by side into turn one. Verstappen up into fourth. Alonso goes around the outside of Hamilton now. Fernando Alonso, what a drive it's been this weekend. Starting at the back of the sprint, he drove all the way up into P7 by the time that sprint ended, managed to get points out of it, and that's what I was so disappointed by. We didn't put a foot wrong in the sprint, and we have the mechanical failure, and Alonso ends up gaining more points than us anyways, and we're even further back to start the Grand Prix. Obviously, with starting at the back here in the actual Grand Prix, as the two Ferraris continue wheel to wheel, allowing Russell to drive away, but we're going to need some help today. We need to hope for a safety car. There is a threat of rain late in the Grand Prix. We'll have to wait and see if that actually, comes into effect or not. We got up to P17, so a gain of 2 positions on this opening lap over Logan Sargent and Nick De Vries. Now behind Valtteri Bottas, here we are, lap 2, going for an overtake now down towards turn number 4, up the inside of Valtteri there. You got Tsunoda, our former teammate there, just in front of us as well. Valtteri not going to make this easy. We would continue side by side in towards the double left-hander here, and you can see he holds on, so we have to wait for the DRS assistance to actually be able to complete this pass a little bit easier. Not a lot of room between himself and I as we are on this medium tire, but we have such a nice run here down towards turn 4 on third lap that we're going to be able to complete him, the pass on him, I should say. So now up into P16 as we can focus in on both the AlphaTauris. That is rumored to be rebranding here, and maybe an announcement coming soon, so stay tuned on that. I'm really hoping we can get a team-changing name mod, but we'll have to wait and see. But around the outside of Tsunoda we go, and then we would continue to run down fellow Canadian, of course, the driver that we took the ride of, Lance Stroll, and we're going to go around the outside of him. He's not going to make it quite as easy on me as Tsunoda did, but still, nonetheless, a pretty easy overtake. So far, we are slicing our way through this grid, even on the drivers with the soft tires, as I get a warning there for exceeding track limits. My first warning, I think, of the whole weekend of head contact. Albon locks up into turn 3, and Magnussen had nowhere to go, and the Alfa Romeo Haas, he gets wing damage, so he's going to have to pit, and we get a 2-for-1 special on Ocon, as well as Piastri. We're both closing in on the back of Albon, who's going to stay right in front of me, so Piastri lunges one up the inside into 4. We're going to go for the switchback, 3 wide, very briefly. Piastri backs out of it, so up into P12 we go, but we would have to ride until the end of the lap when Magnussen comes into the pits, and I lose a spot to Piastri because I was in the worst lane possible, but we know we got good pace in this car, and we would put that back to the proof immediately here as we would continue on lap 8 on the left side of Piastri. Again, gonna get a little bit boxed in behind Albon and beside Oscar, but we'll go around the outside of the McLaren, taking P11, and just a few moments later, lap 9 in the first DRS zone, we are going to be able to take P10 and enter the points. We have speed in this car. Like I said earlier, we haven't put a foot wrong. This weekend so far, it's been a flawless drive, but obviously it hasn't translated to anything yet. And here we are in lap 11, and, you know, all on my own, 2.5 or 2.8 seconds ahead of Albon, 4.5 behind Gasly, just doing my thing, trying to close that gap in before they pit. Carlos Sainz is now in the pits, actually. He is doing a bit of a different strategy. He's in for another set of softs, so he's doing a 2-stop strategy. I will be very interested to see how that one's going to work there for the Spaniard. But we now move up into P9 because of that, waiting for these guys on the softs to start making their pit stops, and that would start to happen here at the end of lap 14. Here comes Pierre Gasly, as you see myself going wide in that final turn. If you just lift when you go wide there, you won't get a warning, so I was getting away with that. George Russell is now in on lap 16 to put on the mediums, and we as well have our teammate of Alonso in. Charles Leclerc is in as well. Good stop there for Leclerc, and Alonso now puts those mediums on. A good stop for him as well. Or hards, it looks like, actually, that's going on the Aston Martin now. As here I am closing in on the back now of Sergio Perez. A big lunge up the inside into turn 3. Of course, we are still contracted as a Red Bull Racing Program driver, keep in mind, so there's always an opportunity to go to that Red Bull car in place of Perez for Season 3, but there's an option. So Aston Martin has a 2-season option with us for Season 3, so we can stay with them for one more season, or we could go to Red Bull or AlphaTauri. There's 3 teams right there that we have options with, but we can't go outside of any of those 3 teams. Here comes George Russell now, who's already made his pit stop. He's going to go around me, so I'm really hoping we get a safety car because we are so far behind because, of course, in the first half of this Grand Prix, just having to work our way forward from starting at the back. So this is going to be a difficult one. We're going to come into the pit lane at the end of lap 22. We stretched out the run, and now, instead of putting on hards, we're going to put on the soft tire. That's why I stayed out a bit longer than what the pit window said when we were sitting in the pits at the beginning of the Grand Prix. And that was actually Mark's idea. And I like this idea, going for the more aggressive strategy, get those soft tires on, attack the track, instead of course, having the hard tires with a little bit less grip, but more longevity in terms of lifespan. We're going to head back on the track now, and now we as well have an opportunity to maybe get the fastest lap point of the Grand Prix. We'll wait and see. Side by side briefly with Albon, he's on the hards, we're on that soft, so immediately we're going to pull back to the right after getting a bit of slipstream, and this will put us right back in the points. He breaks a little bit deeper than I could. Of course, my tire is still a little bit cold, but here we go now with the acceleration. Look at the difference. Up into P10 we go. We still need a safety car if we're going to be any form of a threat for the race victory. George Russell, look at the track map. He's long gone. We set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Now, I was getting updates on the weather. Rain was about 15 minutes away, so that is not going to be a threat here for the end of this Grand Prix. Let's go through the grid as Russell continues to lead.
Russell is in total control here today as Alonso chases in second. What a drive this weekend from Fernando. Starting at the back from the sprint to now second.
Zero help as well. Crofty, not a single virtual or full safety car. He is truly on top form in his final season, aiming for that 3rd title. A great run for Charlie Boy here today too. The season is starting to turn around for Ferrari.
Sorry to cut in, guys, but Ocon has been talking about a loss of power, which explains the lack of pace as he sits in last position.
All right, thanks, Ted. We'll monitor the situation there at Alpine as we continue to watch Owen closing on this pack of cars.
He's going to make these passes look easy as he just has more traction than Perez and everyone around him. I mean, look at him go. He's another driver who's had a great drive, just like his teammate.
It has to be a bit annoying, though, for him. It looked like a great chance to outpoint Fernando, but has instead turned into losing points in both races this weekend.
There you see signs on that 2-stop strategy. He can aim for points, but not much more. Ferrari dropped the ball on him today. How about De Vries having a solid run in 14th as well?
That will do it for Through the Grid in Austria. Just 10 laps remain as Russell remains in control.
And there you have Through the Grid. It sounds like that Esteban Ocon does have a potential issue there as we're going to go past Piastri. You heard it, Through the Grid, making those moves. Up into P6 we go. Less than 10 laps to go, but look at the gap to Verstappen, over 4 seconds. And now the soft starting to kind of, calm down, we'll call it. Not as much life in them. Spin on the track, and it is Esteban Ocon here, lap 29. He's gone completely around, and he's going to get out of the way from the leader of Russell, who just came through to lap him right there. But we continue on. No issues. Everything stays green. Lap 31 now, approaching the final few laps. And yeah, the soft tires got us to P6. The battle continues on up front. We're not going to be able to close in on Verstappen. And you can see Alonso drops down to P3 at this point now as the clouds continue to cover the circuit. The rain is close, but it's not close close enough. And you know, once again, we did not put a foot wrong today as the final lap was about to get underway, and here it is now. On this final lap, Leclerc is going to go around the outside and take the position from Alonso. So Alonso drops from second to fourth, a bad corner there, and it was George Russell at the end of the day in dominant fashion right there behind a couple of lap cars. He's going to round the final turn. George Russell will win here in Austria in Red Bull's home turf. Their best finisher will be Verstappen in P5. Not a foot wrong today. What a recovery drive from the back of the grid. If only we had a safety car. We didn't get our wish, but still we did, I would say, the maximum of what we could have done. I don't think we could have gotten much better than that. We got close to Verstappen, not close enough. P6 here in Austria. A respectable recovery drive, and rightfully so. We'll get driver of the day. Let's head to the podium.
Smiling faces on the pit wall then after that superb win here in Spielberg, and rightly so. A brilliant effort from the whole team. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
Well, let's see the walkout to the podium there with Russell, Hamilton, Leclerc as well. And I said Ferrari was going to fall off, you know, in the longer run of the Grand Prix, but it didn't really happen. Leclerc brought the pace today. Sainz, they didn't have the greatest strategy, and it showed. The two-stop just did not quite work out for them there. Unfortunate for the Spaniard now, but his teammate, of course, on the podium, which is Leclerc's, by the way, first podium of Season 2 of this career mode. Russell, I think that's what, his second win of the season, if I'm not mistaken. Mercedes got the best of Aston Martin today, and probably, I think, they will take the lead in the Constructors as well. But 4th and 6th, still respectable days. We get the fastest lap points, so we gain 9 points instead of what would have been 8. As you can see, the only DNF being Nick de Vries. He had a mechanical failure, forgot to show that, but he had a mechanical failure that took him out of this race. Here's the standings before we end the episode now. Alonso up top by 23 over Hamilton, 30 over Russell, 62 over myself. We have some work in what we thought was going to be a point gaining weekend. We instead lost points to Alonso because of that mechanical failure in the sprint. Mercedes now leads the Constructors by 9 points over us. That's going to wrap it up for me. I'll see you guys in the next one. We're going to take off here from Austria. You have yourselves a great day.